So it's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of communication with different markets around the world. But I mean, mostly, it's also it's a lot of fun. We get to tell the stories of travel, and we really get to shape people's opinions of travel. And I feel really privileged to be able to do that. And I've been doing it for a long time in different iterations.
Welcome to the Luxury Travel Innovators podcast. I'm your host, Adam Deflorian, founder and CEO of ACDS. Let's take off. Today on Luxury Travel Innovators, I'm joined by Erin Florio, Global Features Director for Condé Nast. Erin, thank you so much for being here on Luxury Travel Innovators.
Thank you for having me.
Tell our listeners a little bit more about your role at Condé Nast.
Sure. So, Global Features Director, and it's a tricky thing to sort of distill down very quickly, but I'll give you the overview. So, at Condé Nast Traveler, it's very important to know that we are, in fact, very global. We have 7-8 different markets. We have the US, the UK, India, Germany, Spain, Italy, and China. Sorry, that's 7. We may be adding an 8th. In the Middle East. Did I say the Middle East?
No. So yeah, that'd be another one.
Sorry, that's 8. And the way we work is that each market is very localized, but we all talk. We all try to work together as closely as possible. So we do have these global roles. And in those global roles, which I have one of, we work with all of the local editions. We try to make sure that we are covering things in the right way, that we're not compromising the local voice, that we're telling the right stories, that we're finding areas where we can collaborate and be efficient and make sure that the content we are producing is best servicing our global audience, but also the local audience. So it's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of communication with different markets around the world. But I mean, mostly, it's also it's a lot of fun. We get to tell the stories of travel, and we really get to shape people's opinions of travel. And I feel really privileged to be able to do that. And I've been doing it for a long time in different iterations.
And are you over all of the brands, or specifically Traveler, or what?
Traveler. Yes. So we have Condé Nast specifically has many, many different brands. I am on Condé Nast Traveler in the global role, partly overseeing the 8 different editions of Condé Nast Traveler around the world.
Fantastic. And now, how does it work in regards to overall global features? Like, how does your team go out and seek and find what's going to be a feature?
Yeah, so I mean, we have people, all over the world. We, of course, have our 8 local markets, but then we also have so many contributors, and we have great relationships with the industry. So, different PRs, different travel companies, hotels, cruises, et cetera. And of course, conferences such as ILTM, where the travel industry is converging for a week. I mean, things like this happen throughout the year. And the way we really can focus on the stories we want to pursue, the things that are happening, is maintaining those conversations across the board with everybody. We like to be the first to know. I think after all of these years, all of us editors have a really, really good gut instinct. It's funny, actually, how you can develop this sort of gut instinct about where people are going to be going next, what people are going to be traveling for next. You can kind of see these patterns of behavior emerge also in the travel set, like you can with any group of people around the world. So we pay a lot of attention to that, and we use our best judgment. And also, of course, we make a beautiful product, and we like what's also going to look good. So, that factors into it too.
Where right now are you in terms of some of those trends? Like, where are you seeing them come from, and what are a couple of those trends that you're starting to see?
Sure. So, I mean, it's experience. We all know that. People are not wanting to travel in a bubble. When they travel, they really want to be immersed. And I mean, I think that I appreciate that's a cliche. It's overused, but it's also true. People want to go deeper. They want to be more localized, and they really want the access to be able to do that. I mean, I think Condé Nast Traveler is one of those keys to give you the access, but we know who the right people and the right partners are to give you that access that we can't do, right? So that also helps. Anyway, so some of the trends that we're seeing right now is, well, I don't know if you have noticed this, but summers are getting hotter.
Yes.
It still feels like everyone's going to the Mediterranean, I admit, but we're seeing a lot more people opting for cooler climate destinations in the summer. And to that point, as I said, summer is getting hotter. Summer is very, very crowded. So we're seeing a big push towards off-season travel.
Okay.
People going to destinations that used to be very hyper-pegged to a certain season of the year. and trying to explore it at a different time of year. And I'll tell you why I love this trend. And I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger because not only does it allow you to have a destination with sort of more room to breathe, there's less people there, the prices come down, it's just an easier time to travel. But depending on the destination, it also lets you unlock a different personality to a destination. So for example, if you're going to the Amalfi Coast in July, you know what that looks like, right? That's beaches, that's boats, that's the ocean, that's sunshine. We love it. But guess what? If you're going to the Amalfi Coast in October and November, that can be beautiful foliage moments. It can be walks in the surrounding vineyards. It can be more visits to places like churches and local villages. So it's the same destination, but it's done a different way. And I really love how off-season offers that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also it's good for the suppliers. Like we have a lot of clients globally, right? And a good example would be Roccoforte with one of my favorite properties is Villa Igea down in Palermo.
Oh, beautiful.
And they're holding it open year round, which is, never used to be the case. And it's good for the staff. It's good for the customer. It's less crowded, like you said. It's great.
It's also good for the microeconomy around that hotel.
Exactly.
So the little towns that consider themselves tourist town, whose businesses spike in July and then dip in January, it's more sustained year round,
Exactly.
and that's just healthier for everybody. So agree. I think the economic benefit is huge.
100%. Can you give our listeners a little bit of on your personal background and kind of what got you, scratched your travel itch? Like what got you into travel, this industry that we love?
Sure. So, I honestly don't remember the exact moment where I was like, this is what I want to do with my life, because I've had it from such a young age. I was that child that, this sounds so cliche, but I was that child that I used to just study maps because I was so fascinated as like a 12-year-old to think, my gosh, what is life like on this place called Malta?
Yeah.
And it was just something that I was so curious about it. But I also, this is really important, I grew up moving and traveling around the world. So US born, I moved to Asia when I was 4 years old. I moved to New Zealand when I was 9 years old, where I ended up actually remaining for the rest of my formative years. But we moved because of my father's job, and there was always the possibility we were going to be moving again. And I remember being very young, and this is not just me looking on the maps, but I had this awareness that there was always a possibility we might end up in Kenya. We might end up in India. And because I sort of lived with that possibility, I started sort of expecting, but then getting excited about what it could mean to be in these places. And I've just always been fueled by this curiosity to travel. So I really think it was innate in me, and it's just something I never want to let go of. And I've been lucky enough to turn it into what I do for a living.
Amazing. And this thirst of travel, like this, do you still travel for fun outside of work, where I know it's exhausting? Do you still travel for fun and go explore new places and et cetera?
Well, I'll tell you something. When somebody says to me, what's your hobby? I feel really embarrassed because I'm like, I think my hobby is travel. And I think my work is also travel. So yes, it's literally like, it's what I do, both on the clock and off the clock. And, it's a blessing and a curse that those two things are blurred. The lines are very blurred between what I do in my personal life and what I do in my professional life. But it's just absolutely what I love to do. If I'm not planning work trips, I'm planning personal trips. I have 2 young children, and it's really important for me to make them very savvy travelers. Last April, actually, I brought my 4-year-old son to South Korea and to Japan. And it was so amazing just to see him experience it, because he was such a good traveler. And I swear, I'm so proud of like so many things that my small son does, but seeing how great and how gracious he was as a traveler might have been my proudest moment yet, because he was very curious. He wanted to explore everything. When I was teaching him some basic Korean, he was using it, and I was so cute to see him say thank you and please in the Korean language. And he loved it.
Yeah, it's similar. I took my kids this past summer to Europe, and we would, to watch them when they were in France say simple things like merci, and instead of saying, thank you, it's amazing. They just adapt. And then we get to Italy and they would start speaking Italian, and they would actually use and they would try. It was amazing. It was really cool to see.
They try. And I think like the hallmark of a good traveler too is being willing and actually happy to do something you might not be willing to do when you're at home.
Yes.
And, just even basic things like seeing my son eat things that I know if I put in front of him in New York, he was not going to put it in his mouth.
Right.
In Korea, he didn't push it away. He was curious. He wanted to try it. And he got that already. And I loved seeing that.
Yeah. I always say that the world would be a lot more peaceful if more people had the opportunity to travel, right? You have an empathy for others and realize that at the end of the day, we're all just human beings. And it's we all have similar needs as humans, so it's a shame more people can't explore the world.
I think the democratization of travel is something we should continue to push and push.
Yes,
for that reason.
100%. So you've been working in media, obviously, for a long time. What changes, I know there are many, have you been seeing in this evolving industry?
Oof, yeah, many, many, many. I mean, when I started out, we were a one-platform industry.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was print, and it was print, and it was print. And we knew how to do that thing, right? We knew how to do it. The industry, had control of that thing. Digital was coming up. It wasn't that it didn't exist when I started. It was there, but it was so secondary you couldn't even see it in the rearview mirror. Of course, that has changed. That script has essentially flipped, but I don't, that is not at all to say that print is going away. In fact, I really believe print is coming back, and it's going to be very strong, and its value is being proven time and again. But of course, the rise of digital, and not just the rise of digital, right? We went from sort of having a bi-platform world, it was digital and it was print. And now we have social media platforms, we have video platforms. So we have this portfolio of platforms that we need to be very, very flexible with and very adaptive to. And what we've seen with the rise of these other platforms is the audience kind of gets there first, and we have to meet them where they're at. And what we're spending a lot of time in media, and we're constantly doing a better job of this, is getting there first and getting that ownership, and then having the audience follow. And I think that dynamic shift is the biggest thing I've noticed, apart from just the change in the platforms and everything. But it's really, having to meet the audience where they're going and having that sort of foresight to know where they're going to go next, because we don't have them so captive per platform anymore.
Totally. Well, that leads me actually to a good segue. So how does your presence on social play a part in that, and how specifically are you guys using TikTok and with that sort of approach to quick videos and bite-sized content and super rapid? So how is that overall kind of changing in your strategy?
Yeah, and I have to say, we are constantly reassessing and tweaking our approach on all of our platforms. But social, I think, is the most interesting one to follow, right? Because it's the one that's the most present and the one that is the most ingestible, and it's doing things, we went from very long form to being very bite-sized, and there's a lot happening on social. So I think the biggest difference was we used to use social as a tool to drive traffic, right? Okay. We used to use social kind of in an auxiliary way to capture that audience and then drive them to the site or drive them to the magazine if that's what it was going to take them. And we still will do that, of course. It can be a strategic tool for us. But now what we're seeing with social is that needs to be its own very high-performing platform in and of itself. Yeah. So original content that people come to specifically to see that original content. That has no, it can if it needs to, but has no purpose like driving it back to the site. It can just exist on its own. And what we're seeing with how that's most effective is really leading with expertise. So we have this year we've launched a really big program that we're calling our Creators Program, where we're partnering with real, true experts in cities around the world to show us their city, to inform us about the customs and the places to shop and the things to eat. And what we've done is we've given these creators quite a bit of freedom to sort of pick and choose the stories they think are the most relevant for our audience, because even though we as editors consider ourselves experts, part of being an expert is knowing when you need to step aside and let the real experts shine. Yeah. And we can give them the platform to do that. So that's kind of what we're doing in the biggest way right now with social, is using it as its own standalone platform, trying to get the best, smartest voices in the world on it and hold our audience there and grow our audience through it.
Have you found I'm sure you guys have great analytics into what's working and what's not. Have you found any particular travel expert or influencer? I noticed you didn't say the word influencer on that, which is I think impactful, because they really aren't influencers. They're local experts, right? They're not just celebrity type.
I think there's still huge pool of people that are technically what somebody might define as an influencer. That does not mean they're going to be correct for our creators program, right?
Yeah.
That is a different thing. It's a different community altogether. That's not to say that influencers don't have a place. That's not the group of people that we're going after right now. Yeah.
Fair enough. And do you think that these, have you found that a particular type of video or content tends to perform and grow your audience better than others, especially on TikTok? Is there a secret sauce?
I think it's interesting because that is also changing.
Yeah.
People were looking, it goes back and forth. We've seen from, the sort of DIY, sort of scrappy, put things together to like the hyper polished. And what we're seeing now is actually the platforms within social are sort of pulling away from each other in opposite directions. I think with TikTok, it's very person first. It's still very bitsy. They have the ability to sort of inform lecture in a way that, I think on Instagram, you're expecting something a little bit more cinematic now that you weren't necessarily in the past. And we're seeing it go back and forth between what is performing well. So again, it's changing, and we are changing our styles. And I think, for us, the name of the game is we need to have a clear vision for what we're doing, but we also need to know that we need to be adaptable, and we need to be able to pivot and to be able to change. And that's what we're doing.
That's the beauty of social, right? Is that you have to, you have the ability to pivot and change on a dime instantaneously, right? It doesn't have, with print, you can't quite do that. No. You need a little bit more lead time.
No, it's a little stagnant. Yeah. And the lead time, that's another, but it's funny, that is one of the things that I think is going to see the survival of print, because people who live in this quick hit, instant gratification economy are going to really start valuing the fact that a lot of work, and by a lot of work, I mean a lot of long lead times and production have had to go into the production of what this thing actually is. And I think that it will always increase in value, because more and more and more with the digital natives that are being born, continuing to grow and get older, that will be something that is rarefied, and that is something that they're going to place value on.
I totally agree. I also think, like you said, there's such a great spot and place for print, right? There's times when you just want to pick up a magazine and look at it, or if it's in front of you, you look at it and you can appreciate and respect the quality that went into it, right? And the fact that it is edited content. And I think as we were talking about social media, right, we talked a bit about how the platforms are totally evolving, and what you used to see on Instagram, you're now beginning to see more on TikTok in regards to that more of an unpolished, authentic content flow. And then in Instagram, you're seeing almost a bit more of the produced content, right?
And cinematic is the word.
Cinematic is well said.
It's polished, like you said.
Yeah, and so I think again, there's a place for all of that. What can you share about the annual Reader's Choice Awards and how it's celebrated by readers and recipients?
So I will say this: our Reader's Choice Awards is like the Oscars for our brand. It has so much attention, and we have so much engagement, and it's continuing to grow. And I think the team that works on it has done such a great job, because I think everything we do is obviously exciting for our audience, but also for the industry. We wouldn't be doing it otherwise. But the Reader's Choice Awards, for those who are not familiar with it, is once a year when Condé Nast Traveler, different editions around the world, release the results of a huge, huge survey where we let our audience basically vote on their favorite brands, their favorite experiences, cities, destinations in travel. We release these awards. In the past couple of years, we have seen engagement go from something like 250,000, which is sizable, to now it's over 700,000. So that's the voter pool, which is massive. And you'd be, what I love about it is you'd be both shocked and pleasantly surprised about what the results are, right? Like some of the things I see and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense, perfect. And then otherwise I'm like, oh wow, interesting. Yeah. I'm so curious as to, you see these sort of patterns emerge in trends year after year, and it's really reflective of what the audience wants. So even for us, it's actually a really useful tool in saying where our audience is going, where they're staying, what they're looking for in travel now compared to past years. But we always celebrate it in a really big way. The industry is always super pumped for the Reader's Choice Awards. They love it. I think it's a special honor when they win. I
totally agree. And they love promoting it. What were some of the surprises on the most recent edition that you would say?
We always have these really surprising cities win. And, places I would never even consider going. Like this year we had Columbus, Ohio. In a top 10 list.
Wow.
And I was like, that's fascinating. And then I went and I started learning more about Columbus. And I'm like, this is actually a pretty interesting place. And, it kind of reminds me there's so much to discover in the U.S.
And then on the hotel or train side of things, what other surprises have you seen on the list?
Well, I think trains in general is a really interesting topic to bring up because that is just on the rise. And we've added it as an RCA category. It wasn't always an RCA category. And we're seeing great train rides from places like New Zealand to Canada, of course, the Rocky Mountains, South America, all over the world. You can basically find an iconic train journey that our readers have voted on from pretty much every continent. So, I would definitely say train travel in general is another trend in travel.
That's amazing. And it's funny, one of our partners is, of course, Orient Express, and what they're doing with La Dolce Vita and the others is, just top notch.
I think La Dolce Vita is one of the dreamiest travel products to launch in recent years.
Totally.
And I haven't been on it. I've been very close to it. We had a huge amount of coverage of it when it first launched. And I think what Orient Express has managed to do with La Dolce Vita is take two things that you feel people already have a lot of access to, which is Italy and train travel, and turn it into a product that feels like you've never seen it before because you really haven't.
Yeah. Totally.
I want to take it, by the way, Orient Express, if you're listening. I would love to go on the
And all the feedback that I hear is just epic. Like epic experience. So
Me too.
You're right. Both, I feel like trains are having a moment, and then sailing/yachts are having a moment, which all the luxury brands are getting into in regards to like what Orient Express is doing, or Aman at Sea, or the other. It's like everybody is doing it.
Not only is everybody getting into quote unquote the luxury yacht space, because what I'm learning is people are defining yacht in a lot of different ways. The cruise industry is also now using more and more that term yacht for a small ship. And I think what's interesting about all of these big players getting into, I'm not going to call it yacht, the ship space, the ocean, the waterways space, is it really lifts up the whole industry of just the idea of traveling by sea, traveling by water. And I think that is going to be something that continues to grow, and whose audience and whose market continues to grow because of the fact that these big brands they trust on land are now in that space.
Yeah, totally. Well, I've asked everybody, on our partnerships that have gotten into it. So Aman, of course, being a partner, Orient Express, well, why is the focus, and why do you think that everybody is so focused on getting into this space? And everybody said exactly what you said, combined with the fact that it's a longer length of stay, right? You end up with people, instead of 2 or 3 nights, like at a hotel where the average length of stay is 2.5, you end up with people for 7 or 10, right? And it is a super effective way to travel. It allows you to get access to places that you otherwise might not be able to access. And it is so much easier to navigate. Like traveling, especially you did it with your little ones. It's like, it's hard. It's difficult. Things go wrong. Flights get delayed. Cars are not always easy. You're stuck in traffic. But like when you cruise, that's one of the greatest luxuries is, especially if you're doing it at a small scale, because you're not looking for that large cruise experience, the ability to just navigate places that otherwise become cumbersome to do,
Not to mention you unpack once.
Exactly.
Love unpacking once. No, but I think a really good point that you mentioned, which is a huge selling point for these different ships, is they are taking you to places that quite literally you cannot access unless you do it by ship.
Exactly.
There's no infrastructure there yet. And what does every traveler want, if not the first to be there, the greater access, and just the curiosity? I mean, I think a lot more people right now are interested about a place like Palau simply because they feel they've been everywhere else.
Yep.
And who's going to allow them to go to Palau on, with a certain budget? It's going to be the fact that the Four Seasons now has a yacht there.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing that more and more.
So we talked about experiential travel, and something else that we see coming up a lot is sporting events and sports travel. Of course, we're just coming off the Formula One Vegas this past month. What are you seeing in regards to like sport tourism and sport travel?
Huge, growing is what we're seeing. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm so excited about this. In fact, this year going to 2026, Condé Nast Traveler globally is dedicating a lot of time and a lot of attention to this very topic. It's not just because, the Winter Olympics, and then we're going to have the FIFA World Cup.
Yep.
We know people travel for that. That's not new, right? But what we're seeing is, of course, the rise of things like F1 going
Yep.
all over the world, and the huge amount of money and the huge amount of travel that goes with it. We're seeing, of course, I think the tennis Grand Slams are just growing exponentially in popularity. But brilliantly, what it's now introducing is an audience of people who can't get the tickets to Wimbledon to go to these lesser tours that have the same players.
Totally.
That are easier and more affordable to get to, but that happen all around the world. So you can go to Rome and see these great tennis tournaments. You can go to China. So that's really opening up a world of travel. And then I think, the flip side to just wanting to travel for the events is what we're seeing too, and we're really excited about this, is just this acknowledgement that sports is as much a cultural lens as something like food. And I think it's something that we've sort of neglected. It's a story we've neglected to tell, right? Even though we've seen it in front of us the whole time. For example, what I mean by that is I know a ton of people who will travel into America, who will travel to New York. They're not coming to New York because the Knicks are an NBA team that they follow, but I guarantee you they want to get Knicks or Yankees tickets when they're in New York because it's a local experience. And if you take that out of just, the obvious context, I think going to a soccer game in London, a basketball game in the US, if you grow that globally and you understand that when you're in India, yes, of course, it's about going to the Oberoi, but it's also about catching a cricket match.
Yeah.
And it's also about seeing a rugby match in New Zealand. And when you can sort of, access a local experience through sports, it can be a greater gateway than food in a sense.
Yeah, it's the local authenticity that some countries are sort of blessed to have in regard to sport, and then it's also just the development of sport, like you're seeing in Saudi right now, right? I mean, you're seeing them bring in every major sport, and they want more and more of it to create that gigantic Vision 2030 tourism plan, and sport's key to it.
And not just major sports; they're bringing in the major players.
Yes, of course, and paying them a lot of money to do so.
And that's going to bring a lot of people.
Absolutely. So what's the ultimate goal for the Condé Nast Traveler website? Like, what do you, where do you see that going? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the wonderful thing about a platform like the website, about digital, is it can be many, many things, right? We can build it to cater to a lot of different audiences. I think ultimately what we want with our site is, of course, sustain a lot of traffic. And
what are your current traffic levels, if you can share?
Well, to be honest, we've had a lot of fluctuation because there have just been a lot of things happening in the Wild West that is the internet these days. I think this year alone, Google changed the algorithm 4 times without announcing it.
Yeah.
And, we have to adapt again to that. Of course, it hits our traffic, but we're trying to get ahead of that. And what we're sort of realizing is that what our value proposition is people trust Condé Nast Traveler, as they should, right? And what they want to do with our information is they want to use it for their own trips. Of course, they want to read these beautiful pieces. They want to see our beautiful photography, and we're always going to continue to do that. But they really want our intel to go off and make smart decisions about the places they travel and what they do when they're there. So I think our long-term, what our hope and our vision would be is to really be that source from pre to post travel, helping you kind of create that journey and book it too. I mean, e-com is a huge part of our business. We have a lot of partnerships, of course, with hotels, increasingly with cruise lines, to allow our audience to book at that when they're reading our reviews on our site. So kind of building an entire ecosystem that supports the entire traveler journey.
It's great. Yeah, it's interesting too, because you guys are in a very unique space in that you are an authority, right? You're an editorial authority, but you're also an authority because of your readers and the Reader's Choice Awards and the input that they've provided, that I would assume as we move into this kind of AI world that we're all entering, that you guys will be cited quite a bit, and I'm sure you already are, when people are using ChatGPT and Claude and the other, AI engines.
Yeah, and I think, AI is, it is the topic right now that everyone's talking about. And again, it's something that we have to be really adaptable and flexible with. What we're realizing with AI is, we are no longer the place where people need to see a list of hotels in Paris. Of course, they come to us, and they should continue to come to us. And when we have, there's the expertise that comes with us, and that trust is built in. But what we are seeing is that we can sort of use AI in terms of smart kind of data collection in a sense, right? To help us better customize our content for our audience, which is going to increase the engagement. It's going to increase that, that completion of the next step of booking, et cetera. So I think when it comes to AI, what we want to use ideally, or how I want to partner with it ideally, is creating these great itineraries that, yes, are partnered by AI in part because they have the insight into who the specific person is.
Yep.
But I do want to say at every point of the way, there would be some type of editor or proper curation that's kind of signing off, right? And I think one thing that's really important to remember when it comes to AI is no matter how intelligent it does become, it can only mimic, it can't create. So you always want that. What humans can do is create.
Yeah.
And I think we want to always make sure that both of those things are working in tandem in the best possible way. And there's a place for these two things to coexist, of course. And we're trying to use it very strategically and smartly to create that full user experience that we're planning on using.
So, of course, being in travel, we have the opportunity to stay at the best properties in the world from a hotel and resort perspective. What are some of your personal favorites?
Yeah, I pretty much have like a hotel for sort of every mood. As some of my favorites, I like a lot of what a big brand can offer. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to in a place like Rome, one of my favorite cities in the world. I have two favorite hotels, and they are not competitors because they do different things. So I absolutely love the Villon. I don't know if you've ever stayed there.
I have not.
It is so beautiful. It's boutique. It's in a fabulous location. I am 100% not staying there with my kids. And this is lesser expected, but I actually love the Cavaliere in Rome, which is a little outside of the city. It's on a hill. It has one of the best hotel pools, I swear, I've ever stayed at. And when you're traveling with kids and you're in Rome, and the kids, let's be honest, don't always enjoy trudging through the city, but you make them, and you're not going to stop making them because they need to do it and you want to do it. To offer them that reward of the pool and to offer yourself that reward of the pool at the end of the day makes such a difference. So I'd love it for that reason because it serves a purpose. There's a hotel to me which is very, very special. It's in Tangier in Morocco, and it's called Nord Pinou.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been there. It's very small. It's very boutique. It is so beautifully done. Everything from the glass on the doors to the bedspreads to the wood frames of the beds have been sourced from Syrian antique markets, Moroccan antique markets, French antique markets. And the owner, who is French, there's a sister property in Arles in France, has such impeccable taste and such an impeccable eye. And I love being at that place because it's not expected. I don't think people think of Morocco as a great hotel destination. They don't think of Tangier. They think of Marrakesh. They think of some of the other places. And it's such a fabulous discovery. In the United States, I gotta say, I'm a sucker for the Four Seasons Surf Club in Miami. I think it is one of the most beautiful common spaces. I love being in it. I love what they've done with the restaurant. And it's a little quieter. It's on the quiet side of Miami Beach. And yeah, it's just a really fun experience.
I love it. Yeah, the F&B there is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And the property in general is it's a special place for sure.
I mean, I could spend 3 hours answering this question. So you just stop me when you want to stop me. But
no, that's perfect. Yeah. Those are great examples. I love it. So of course, I'm sure you look at what others are doing in the space, in the travel space, as far as editorials concerned. What would you say is your differentiator against, say, travel and leisure?
Yeah, sure. I mean, especially in the U.S., I think we have a really competitive travel media space. And I want to say first, of course, I really respect what Travel and Leisure does. And, we know the team, love the team. I think what sets Condé Nast Traveler apart is a few things. One, I believe there's, frankly, just from an audience recognition point, there is a degree of cachet that comes with Condé Nast that kind of helps us immediately capture an audience, right? We know that works to our advantage. But, it's of course, that's secondary to the fact that the editors are true experts. We've actually, we don't even necessarily call ourselves editors. We call ourselves experts. And why that helps us is because, like I said at the beginning of this interview, we have 8 editions around the world.
Yeah.
So we are both the locals and we are the travelers, right? And I think when you have the power of those two things combined, especially in a space like travel, it just helps with our content creation so much. We get to the places first. We know about the news first. We know the places to talk about first because we have these experts that are also editors, that are also locals around the world. And we have created an ecosystem that can kind of feed into all these markets and really help us create the best of the best out there in travel.
I love it. And that's an incredible scale, right? It's an incredible global perspective too, which is really amazing. What are you most looking forward to this week at ILTM here in Cannes?
Okay, I love coming to ILTM. I think this is my 4th year in a row to be here. Honestly, I really love catching up with all the people that I only get to see once a year. It's really fun to have the industry come together because, all of us, we know each other, but we know each other 99.9% of the time because we're on email or on Zoom. And so to get together, to have the conversations, to have fun. And you know what it's like when you're talking to other people who are into travel? Yeah. It's just a lot of fun. Everyone that loves travel just loves to talk about it. When you love to talk about something, you're having fun. So it's a great time. I'm really looking forward to seeing all, and also that includes, the fellow journalists. I love the fellow travel journalists that I get to see when I come here. We always have a great, great time. And I just like, you get some great leads in this conference. There's a lot of people come with a lot of news to share. Yeah. It's a strategic time for the industry because, big brands, they wait till this week to make big announcements about what their plan is for next year or, next 5 years, et cetera. So there's a lot of good leads that happen.
Totally. And it's not terrible to be in the south of France on the Côte d'Azur.
It's not terrible to be in the south of France. And I also just want to say it is almost impossible to have a meeting at ILTM without being offered a glass of champagne. So if that's your thing, it's a lot of fun.
It is, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Erin, for joining me on Luxury Travel Innovators. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'd love to conclude with my 3 rapid fire questions that I have been doing for all of our episodes. First one, what personal travel are you most excited about next?
That's an easy one. I have a plan to take my children and my partner to New Zealand. It is a place I grew up. None of them have ever been there before. We're going to go for 2 weeks in April. Tickets aren't booked, and until tickets are booked, anything can change. I cannot tell you, this is not just for me, like the most exciting trip of 2026. This might be the most exciting trip I've ever planned because it has always been a dream to bring the people closest to me to the country that is the most special to me. And I know exactly where we're going to go, and I know how we're going to drive, and I know exactly the experiences that we have to have, and I cannot wait for that trip.
I love it. If I had more time, I would ask you to tell me that because I want to go down there too.
I'll email you the details.
That's perfect. Second question. This show is all about innovation and moving forward. So for a moment, I like to step into the past and I say, what do you miss about the glamorous days of travel when travel was simpler?
Okay. I have 2 answers for that. I hope these are what you're looking for, but this is honestly what I think of. One is I'm old enough to remember when people could meet you at the gate and walk you to the gate at the airport. Okay. I miss that. I remember when I was growing up and my father lived in a different country overseas for his job. He could walk me and my brother to the gate when we were coming or going. And it was just that. For the first thing you see when you get off a plane and you're visiting people, for the first thing for you to see to be those people
100%.
was a great moment. So we've lost that. I'd love to bring that back. But of course, I understand safety reasons we might not be able to. The second thing, here's something I don't love about the invention of the selfie stick, or even to that extent, the iPhone, which I do, of course, value and love, and I'm completely dependent on my iPhone or my smartphone, is... what I loved was that little moment, that little exchange in travel. When you are at like a monument, let's just say the Colosseum or something, and everyone's there, everyone wants the photo, and it used to be this really awkward but kind of charming, oh, hi, sorry, do you mind just taking our photo? And then they say, of course, and they'll take your photo. And then you always say, would you like me to take your photo? And then they say, yes, of course. And you both wanted the same things. You're too embarrassed to ask. And it was just a nice, lovely, friendly exchange from 2 strangers who wanted the same thing. Yeah. I wish we had more of that again.
I agree. I thought you were going to say the disposable cameras, the ones where you keep winding them into.
Oh, I mean, I could keep going. Yes, I love a disposable camera where that anticipation of what the photo looks like.
Those are the best.
I miss that.
100%.
In my travels and in my real life.
We should get some for our cocktail parties here to put them on the table. Some disposable cameras. I wonder if we could buy them down here or not, if it's even available anymore. Do you think? Online, I'm sure. But like locally, I wonder if you can actually buy a disposable camera.
They're harder to find, but you know what? I feel like disposable cameras are going to be one of those things that like the next generation wants to bring back.
I agree. It's like the
It's gonna come
Polaroids
back.
and the Fuji. Yeah. Last question. Of course, it's all about moving forward with luxury travel innovators. What innovation in travel doesn't exist today that you think should, and it does not need to be technology?
Ooh, doesn't need to be technology.
I've heard everything from larger luggage racks, which is one of my personal favorites because it's true. When you're traveling internationally, your luggage never fits on the hotel luggage racks. I've also heard teleportation. So, it's flexible.
I mean, I don't know if this is reasonable.
Doesn't have to be.
You know what? I just would love a business class seat for the price of an economy seat. I wish we could create a price model that allowed you to get that product for that price.
There is that new carrier. I don't know if you've heard of it. The one that's operating, I think, LAX and SFO to Tokyo that is doing exactly that. Have you heard of them?
What is it?
I don't remember the name. I need to check into it. But I was looking the other day, and it's like premium economy pricing for business class with lay flat. The difference is, of course, it's not the full business class experience in regards to food, etc. But the seat, and the infotainment system is full business class.
I just need the lay flat seat.
Yeah,
that's what I need. And then a second one, I know we're working on this, and I know we're kind of getting there. But my God, I wish everybody had access to a really sharp translation system.
Yeah. That's what that would be. Wouldn't that be great? And obviously with the new AirPods, they're starting to get there in regards to, but
they're working on it.
We're getting there. It's going to be a minute. So thank you, Erin. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been so fun.
Thanks for watching this episode of Luxury Travel Innovators. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you next time.